It describes that in the holy city of Ayodhya, which is situated on the holy banks of the river Surayu, there was a great king of the name Dasaratha. He was the king of the province of Koshala and a great descendant of Maharaj Ikshwaku of the solar dynasty. King Dasaratha was a very pious and religious king. He was in the true sense a Raja Rishi. He was simultaneously a saint and a king. He was a pure devotee of God. And everyone in his kingdom was thoroughly satisfied because he was teaching everyone to live perfectly in harmony with the laws of God. The kingdom of Ayodhya, because of the piety of this great king, was flourishing with prosperity. There was no poverty. There was great opulence. The roads were beautiful and clean, scented with sandalwood and fragrant oils. And the houses were made of marble and bedecked with jewels. And all the people were dressed in beautiful colored clothing. And everyone was constantly singing the glories of Lord Hari. Dasaratha Maharaj, he had 350 queens. We are talking about the age of Treta, where man lived tens and thousands of years. And great kings, they were allowed to protect and care for as many women as they could keep satisfied. So you can imagine how great King Dasaratha was, that he could keep 350 queens simultaneously fully satisfied. We can understand how great and glorious this king was. And he was a Maharathi. In battle, he can destroy thousands of men at a time. One day, he approached his ministers. And he explained to them, as well as to the great saints and sages, that he was feeling great distress in his heart. Because although he was growing very old, he had not yet had a single son. And of course, for a king, it is very important to have a son, because someone must continue the dynasty. So he said that with all my wealth and with all my strength, and although I have conquered the whole world, I am the king of earth, and although all my subjects love me like a father, still my heart is empty because I have no son. He said, I desire to perform a sacrifice to Lord Vishnu in order to have a male son. At that time, his guru, Vashishta Muni, he said, my dear king, I will make arrangements for this sacrifice. And then his very loyal and faithful minister, Sumantra, took him aside. He said, some many years ago, the great sage Sanat Kumar, he gave you a benediction. He told you that you would have one daughter and that you should name her Shanta, and that you should marry her to the great sage Rishyashringa. And this same sage Rishyashringa, he would perform a sacrifice to Lord Vishnu, and from that sacrifice you will have 4 illustrious and glorious sons. So my feeling is you should go and find Rishyashringa. What happened is, after he had this beautiful daughter, Shantu, there was a king who was the king, his name was Romapad. He was the king of the Anga dynasty. And he had no children. So Dasaratha was feeling very much for him. So he gave him his only daughter. And she grew up as the princess of Maharaj Romapad. And Maharaj Romapad, under Dasaratha's instruction, married his daughter to Rishishringa. So Dasaratha Maharaj went to that place, and there was a cordial greeting, and there was a warm friendship, and after 1 week he brought Rishishringa back to Ayodhya. And then, in the presence of all the great saints and sages, and all the friends of Dasaratha, he began to exclaim his great distress. And Rishishringa, he replied, "My dear king," he said, "I will perform an Ashwamedha Yajna to Lord Hari. And I promise you, the Supreme Lord himself will appear in 4 forms as your sons." There, shining like millions of suns, appeared Lord Narayana, descending on his bird carrier Garuda. And Lord Brahma began to pray, "Lord Narayana, this demon Rakshasa, Ravana, is causing so much distress. You are the only one that can annihilate him." And Lord Vishnu explained that I will soon come. I will appear as the 4 sons of Dasaratha, and Ravana will be killed. And after confirming the fulfillment of their desires, Lord Narayana again ascended to Vaikuntha and disappeared. And then Lord Brahma, tene hridaya adikavye, who is receiving information from Krishna in his heart, he explained that all you demigods, Vishnu wants you to help him in this great battle against Ravana. So therefore, you should all expand yourselves and take birth as monkeys in the jungle of Kishkinda. And you should expand yourself with all the power and all the strength you have now. And very soon, the Supreme Lord Hari will come, and together you will relieve the earth of the burden of Ravana in his Rakshasa dynasty. At that time, all the demigods left. They all returned to their abodes, and they all began making their plans.
You were listening to Radhanath Swami on devotionalnectar.com.